So I did mine on the Lasso compression sock. So just a little bit about it. It was designed by biomedical engineers and physicians, and it's pretty much just based on an ankle tape job. So it uses targeted compression to reinforce the ligaments and the tendons in ankle motion. And so they kind of researched how the ankle twists, and then they created the sock to prevent the ankle from twisting. So just some benefits: it's supposed to prevent ankle sprains, provide support to the ankle joint during motion, provide extra support during an injury if you already have one, provide support for muscle stiffness, soreness, and pain, and improves your circulation. So the big question is, like, do Lasso socks really prevent ankle sprains? So they conducted a study comparing just standard athletic socks, Lasso socks, and no socks. And it was aimed specifically at examining the effect of the Lasso sock on ankle inversion and eversion. So they created this simulator, this ankle simulator that was built to test the inversion and eversion. It measures the motion of the foot, so the angles and changes during inversion and eversion. And then a weight is attached to the foot to make the foot invert and evert to the full extent. So the trials, there are 3 different, each one was tested 3 different times, the barefoot, standard, and Lasso. And each time it was tested, the weight went up. So the lower the weight, the less of the grade of ankle sprain, and the highest weight is supposed to be the most severe ankle sprain. So first they suspend the ankle with the sock attached or no sock, depending on which trial you're doing. And then they pull the sock tense and attach it to a hook on the simulator. And then they level to the foot to make sure there's no pulling one way or the other, so the foot is supposed to be like in neutral position. And then they record the starting angle, and once they attach the weight to the wire, it makes the foot invert or evert. And then they record the final angle, and then they calculate the difference, the change in between. So this is pretty much like degrees of deflection of the ankle model. So you can see the yellow one is the Lasso sock, and even on the highest weight, it only gets up to like 6 degrees. And then the standard athletic sock is the blue, and that gets all the way up to 25, and then no sock is the max inversion and eversion. So these numbers, it doesn't look like that on this, but the numbers, you can kind of see they're the same ones on the chart we just saw. So the highest of the weight in the Lasso was 6.08, and it was less than even the least amount of weight on the regular standard sock. So the conclusion, they ran a t-test for the Lasso sock versus the standard sock, and the p-values for each of those were below 0.00, which means the Lasso versus standard was statistically significant. So in all the weights tested, the average change in the angle with the Lasso sock was less than 30% of the change in the angle of the standard sock. And then in the highest weight tested, which is the most severe sprain, the change in angle of the Lasso was 75% less than the angle in the standard sock. So I think this will be useful for athletic trainers. If you have like a limited budget for tape and supplies, the socks are only $30. I actually have a pair of them. I just forgot to bring them in, so sorry. But if you have a limited budget for tape and supplies, you can ask your coaches at the beginning of the season to have their athletes purchase these themselves, and they can wear them starting the beginning of the season, and hopefully you won't have to tape that many ankles during the season. And then if you do have an injury, I think that if you have an ankle sprain and put the sock on top of it, it's just extra support for you. So that's it.